Elliot Marsh was 39 years old when the silence began to bother him. He worked as an archivist for a regional records office, a job that required patience, attention to detail, and long hours alone. After his divorce, he moved to a small rental house at the edge of a declining coastal town, a place chosen not for comfort, but for its distance from everything familiar. The house stood on a narrow road that ended at the cliffs, with the sea hidden below and the wind constant enough to feel alive. At first, the quiet felt like relief. No traffic, no neighbors close enough to hear, just the low sound of wind brushing the siding and the slow ticking of the clock in the kitchen. Elliot told himself this was what he needed. Space. Control. A place where nothing unexpected could happen. The first week passed without incident. He unpacked slowly, placing objects deliberately, arranging his life into neat, predictable shapes. He slept well. He worked remotely. He ate simple meals and went to bed early. At night, the wind pressed against the house, but he welcomed it. It meant the world was still there. On the 8th night, he noticed the pause. It happened just after midnight. Elliot was reading in bed when the wind stopped. Not faded, not softened. It stopped completely, as if something had closed a door. The silence that followed felt dense, almost physical. He waited, listening, expecting the sound to return. It didn't. After a few seconds, he heard something else, a faint sound from the hallway. Not a footstep, not a creak, just a presence of sound, like pressure against his ears. He held his breath, annoyed at himself, and told himself it was the house. Settling, when the wind returned a minute later, he slept. The next night, the pause happened again. Same time, same sudden absence of sound. This time, Elliot sat up in bed. The silence felt intentional. He became aware of his own breathing, too loud, uneven. From somewhere beyond the bedroom door, he heard a soft, rhythmic sound, not footsteps, breathing. He listened until his chest tightened. Then the wind came back, and the sound was gone. Elliot didn't sleep after that. Over the next several days, he tried to rationalize it. Old house, temperature shifts, acoustics. He researched coastal weather patterns and structural noise. Everything had an explanation, even if it didn't feel right. He avoided thinking about the way the silence seemed to wait for him to notice. On the 5th night, the breathing came from closer. Elliot was standing in the kitchen when the wind stopped. The clock on the wall continued ticking, sharp and precise. 10. Eat. Slow. Each second stretched longer than the last until it stopped entirely. Behind him, something exhaled. He turned around too fast and nearly fell. The kitchen was empty. The hallway was dark. The front door was closed and locked. He stood still, listening, counting his breaths, forcing calm. Then, he heard it again, from the far end of the hallway. Slow, controlled, as if something were learning how to breathe. Elliot retreated to his bedroom and locked the door. He sat against it until morning, telling himself that fear could invent anything if given enough darkness. The house changed after that, not visibly. The walls stayed where they were. The furniture didn't move, but the space felt wrong. Larger in some places, smaller in others. His footsteps echoed longer than they should have. His voice sounded unfamiliar when he spoke aloud. He stopped using the hallway at night. The breathing returned every evening, always during the pause. It never crossed the threshold of his bedroom. It stayed just out of sight. Patient, waiting. Elliot stopped sleeping altogether. He drank too much coffee. His hands shook when he tried to type. On the 12th night, he spoke. "I can hear you," he said, his voice barely audible. The silence thickened. The air felt heavy, as though the house were leaning inward. Then something shifted, not toward him. Away. The breathing moved deeper into the house, toward the back rooms he rarely entered. Elliot felt a sudden, overwhelming sense of being observed from multiple directions. He closed his eyes and waited for the wind. It didn't come back. Instead, a voice spoke. Not loud, not close, but clear. "You noticed now." The words were slow, carefully shaped. They carried no emotion. Elliot pressed his hands over his ears. The voice continued. "You listen?" The clock resumed ticking. The wind returned. The voice was gone. The next morning, Elliot found the back door open. He was certain he had locked it. The air inside the house smelled different, stale and damp, as if something had been breathing there for a long time. He considered leaving, packing a bag, driving until the road ended and beyond. Instead, he stayed. He told himself he needed proof. He began recording audio at night. He placed a recorder in the hallway and one near the back rooms. Each morning, he listened. Most nights were empty. Wind, distant surf, silence. On the 15th night, he caught something. At exactly 12:04 a.m., the recordings went silent. No wind, no ambient noise. Then came the breathing. Clearer than before, close to the microphone. After several seconds, a whisper. "You are loud." Elliot's hands trembled as he replayed it. The voice was calm, curious, almost disappointed. The house no longer felt like shelter. It felt like a container. That night, Elliot didn't wait for the pause. He walked into the hallway while the wind still howled outside. The lights flickered as he moved. The walls seemed to narrow. The back door stood open again. "I know you're here," he said. The wind stopped. The silence closed around him. "You fill the space," the voice said. "Now everywhere at once. You take it without knowing." The walls pulsed. Elliot felt pressure in his ears, in his chest. He struggled to breathe, not because the air was gone, but because it no longer felt meant for him. "What are you?" he asked. The answer came slowly. Stillness. The lights went out. Elliot dropped to his knees. He felt the house shift, rearranging itself around him. The breathing surrounded him now, layered, overlapping, as if the house itself were inhaling. "You move too much," the voice continued. "You think too loudly?" Elliot screamed, but the sound didn't travel. It folded back into him, trapped. When the wind returned, Elliot was alone in the hallway. The lights came back on. The house was normal again. Quiet. Empty. In the days that followed, Elliot noticed changes in himself. He spoke less. He moved more slowly. Loud sounds made him flinch. He became aware of the space he occupied, the way his body displaced air. At night, the breathing no longer frightened him. It comforted him. It reminded him to be still. One evening, Elliot realized the wind had not returned for hours. He sat in his chair, unmoving, listening to the silence press gently against the walls. "It's easier now," the voice said softly. Elliot nodded. The house exhaled, and the space where Elliot had been grew quiet.